I mentioned earlier today we're sharing the basket with our own Saturday breakfast. Since February, I've been showing up most Saturday mornings as a safety steward, a new role for Saturday breakfast, here at that breakfast. Over these months, I've come to recognize faces, know some names, greet some dogs, and extend some fist bumps. One of our regulars has been Aaron, a slim man with short, spiky, salt and pepper hair. Aaron is not his real name. This past spring, Aaron had been familiar as regular, tending to quietly enjoy a hot meal and an hour of normalcy. But this summer, things got complicated. Twice, there were arguments, angry outbursts. Both times, some other man or other men were about ready to get physical with him because of something he supposedly said or some music he played on his phone that was perceived as disrespectful to others present. The third time, I had been watching Aaron and quietly passing him by because I knew that previous weeks he had had these troubles kind of recently. And in that day, he was sitting alone and raising his voice in angry epithets. Our own volunteer was serving French toast very close to him, and she insisted she didn't feel threatened by him. Let him be, give him some leniency. And I tend the same way. Then minutes later, I heard a commotion and saw everyone looking into the narthex, which I couldn't see from where I was standing. And as I approached, I found one man holding Aaron back from another man. The intervening guy told me that Aaron had angered the other guest by his rude comments to our volunteer. She was still trying to give him space, but it was rude enough that someone else was about to go fight for her. Aaron wanted to argue with both men about this. I advised that, Aaron, I want you to be welcome back here, but that's not going to happen if you don't leave quietly now. And after a long hesitation on his part, I escorted him out. Clearly, he needs this breakfast. And for months or maybe years prior, I don't know, I'd only been helping for these months, he had come without incident, or seemingly without incident. I remember even one week he was very, very polite, very genteel, and super nice. I don't know what was different that week. Anyway, he clearly struggles with mental well-being. Whether or not drugs are involved, I heard speculation. Just like the volunteer who didn't want Aaron to have to skip his breakfast, I feel compassion for every Aaron who arrives with ever-compounding challenges of mental issues, no income, no personal safe shelter, means of transportation, so many of the things I take for granted, right? I want each of them to enjoy the hot breakfast at a table with other people. This is nourishment and dignity that our volunteers, some of you, have been providing every Saturday morning for 2 decades. But after Aaron left, one of the other men approached me and half apologized for his interaction with Aaron, but he also said he can't stop himself when he sees another man treating a woman disrespectfully. He said something like, "It's obviously your call, but anywhere else I've eaten, this guy would have been banned for this," which hit me with mixed emotion. I wasn't sure whether to feel foolish, blind, and cowardly for not having thrown him out earlier that Saturday when he was raising his voice, and for not better appreciating at the same time the impact on other guests around him, right? Or whether to feel a sort of pride and courage that here at UUCSR, part of what we offer the disadvantaged is more leniency and grace than some organizations are willing to extend. Because it wasn't just me that morning who wanted Aaron to have more chances. It was also the very volunteer he apparently insulted even as she was feeding him breakfast. After that morning, I got support from our safety committee to ban Aaron if I so choose. The next Saturday, Aaron was in the breakfast line, and I told him, one more chance. I watched him breakfast, and he seemed to intentionally be on his best behavior after I mentioned that. And then after breakfast, the police detained him at the curb outside our building. Across the street, the gym manager had called the police to report that Aaron was interrupting and accusing him of harboring a hostage in the back of the gym. Remember, Aaron does not enjoy good mental health. So when the following Saturday I saw Aaron in line again, I approached him to quietly tell him he is not welcome. He asked why, and I reminded him of the police incident and the previous incidents. He got upset and said something as he walked away, presumably for the last time. We have some volunteers and guests who believe that we should have thrown out Aaron after the first or second instance, and a few guests and volunteers who are grateful that we gave him some chances. Some people take advantage of those chances and change their behavior if they can, and they keep getting breakfast in their moment of dignity each Saturday morning as a result. I don't know if I did the right thing by letting him stick around as long as I did. I would like to think so. I've never been trained as a security guard or a police officer. I haven't worked in mental health. I don't have that training, so I don't have any school of thought to which to subscribe or rule of guidelines to judge these cases by. So when my compassion for rude or loud mentally ill individuals is pitted against my compassion for others trying to eat breakfast in peace, I'm not sure that I'm making the right decisions. I'm trying. I want that person to have that opportunity, and I know when I hear the screaming and it's near me, I quickly assess that it's not at me, and so it's kind of okay with me, but other people don't. Other people assume it's about them, and then arguments occur. But I believe I'm at least trying to do what I'm doing because it seems right for the people involved, not usually because I need to boost my authority as a security guard at every instance, not ever because I want an excuse to act tough or assert whatever limited authority comes with this role. But I guess just to have the breakfast feel safe, not only for the well-behaved guests each week, but also for the troubled guests and for our volunteers, of course. I hope I never extend grace and leniency too far and allow it to result in physical violence and irreparable harm. And I think this is where I find a third competing compassion between compassion for Aaron's and compassion for the others, a little bit of compassion for myself. Maybe there's a better question to ask then. Should I extend a compassion to the Aarons or to everyone else? Maybe it's more like, how do I practice compassion in a way that honors everyone's dignity to the best of my ability, including my own? Some Saturdays, that means giving someone another chance. Some Saturdays, it means saying, you're not welcome here. And some Saturdays, it means forgiving myself for not having all the answers, or maybe even for not asking the right questions in the first place.